Cars today go 0 to 60 faster than we could ever need. The dashboard looks like a bloody spaceship, and they can park and drive themselves. But the cars of today are not the simpler cars of the past, and the way that things are changing are a little terrifying. Alright, so we're going to set some expectations right off the top here. Of course, we are not saying that new cars are objectively worse than old cars point blank. In many ways, new cars today are objectively better than the cars of the past. But in this video, we are going to show you how the auto industry has changed over the generations and how cars today are worse in some very interesting and problematic ways. But we're not the only people saying this. If you follow a little query online or on YouTube, you will find lots of people talking about this phenomenon of modern cars falling short on some pretty key things that we have come to expect from an automobile. Now, a lot of this is opinions and people yelling about how they dislike EVs or something, but in all of this mess, there is a general shift that encapsulates what is going on, or what is going wrong, and that is technology. If you explain to Henry Ford that the Cybertruck is the most talked about vehicle in 2024, he might have an aneurysm. The self-driving, electric-powered, tech-filled speed machine that you can buy but not resell is taking over the internet, but it represents a sort of peak in our modern car culture. And we're gonna come back to that vehicle later in the video, but first we're gonna talk about how we got here. See, over the past 80 years, there has been a series of changes making cars easier and more convenient to drive. Automatic transmissions, lane assist technology, infotainment systems, heated seats, backup cameras, and so many other features are now standard in many cars. And the purpose of all of this is to make driving easier for everyone. Now, some of this technology has been a real benefit to people's driving experience and is partly just the natural progression of the automotive industry. But whereas older vehicles were designed for simplicity and repairability, today's technology-dependent cars are falling into the trap of planned obsolescence in a really big way. Okay, so the reason why the car community has been talking about declining car quality for years now is because, by and large, the car community is a pretty passionate one. Car reviews are incredibly thorough, and there are whole communities and allegiances to certain brands and models that make them pretty careful consumers when it comes to one of the biggest purchases you'll make in your life. Back in the day, there were lots of people who worked on their own cars, and most people knew how to change their own oil and perform basic maintenance. As a result, the repairability and service industry around cars was extremely well developed. But this has been slowly changing over the years in a very careful and strategic way. And it's the reason why people who like cars are mad about new cars. So earlier we said that a lot of this technology is making cars easier and more convenient to drive. And this is good for the car industry, because if cars are easier to drive, more people will buy cars. Now, of course, all of these conveniences make driving better for everyone, theoretically, but it also has the double effect of separating people from their cars. One of the earliest and most obvious examples of this is the transmission. See, on a manual transmission, you are physically moving the clutch in and out. You are choosing which gear to go in, which tells you how fast you're going to go, and you are just fundamentally far more involved with the whole mechanics of your vehicle.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should.
In an automatic, however, you press the gas to go faster and the brake to go slower. Automatics hit the market in 1939, setting a trend leading today where almost no one knows how to drive a manual transmission. But now that cars are easy to drive, it also had to be comfortable. Wind-up windows were replaced with power windows, and cruise control became a must for many car owners. These and many other features meant that you could drive comfortably for longer periods of time, and you could save all that energy for other activities while you're behind the wheel. But starting in the 90s, right around the time that I was born, digital media started making its first move into cars in the form of CDs, making driving even more fun. In the 2000s, TVs became common in some minivans, and I just have to ask, for anyone who lived that dream, was it as good as it looked from the outside? Because my parents never got on board, and I would see kids in the back of the minivan with the TV, and I just thought, man, my life would be so much better if I could be watching Looney Tunes right now. And this was really a tipping point. Once the technology got into cars, they weren't getting back out. From the 2000s onward, the more features a car had, the higher the price tag would be. So manufacturers just leaned in and tried to automate every single part of the automotive experience. Rear view cameras meant that you didn't need to turn your head anymore. Automatic seats meant that you didn't have to lean forward to grab the handle. And remote start fobs meant that people didn't even need to use their keys. And I feel like in a lot of ways, the key was the last real physical connection that people had to the mechanical functioning of their car. And with this last final mechanical part taken away from the driver, we are now firmly in the era where cars are more computer than machine. Today, every car has full internet connectivity and Bluetooth with huge displays where you can play video games, adjust your interior settings, and access navigation and whatnot. And these screens are kind of a focal point for what people hate the most about modern cars. You see that screen right there in the dash? It's basically an iPad. And I don't know if you've used an iPad from 5 years ago, but they don't work that great. And you know that automakers aren't partnering with Apple to offer the most up-to-date chip technology for their displays, so there is speculation around how long these things are truly going to last. But not only this, these dashboard entertainment systems are the antithesis of what we have been taught for years that you're not supposed to do while you're driving, which is looking at your phone. These screens have become such a selling feature. The cars now have no knobs. The entirety of the car's internal functioning must be accessed through some menu within a menu on the screen, and you gotta somehow find it when you're driving 100 kilometers an hour on the highway, which for everyone in the world, you understood, for Americans, that's like 65 or something miles. I don't know. So we put this giant distraction in the dashboard, but what did we do to address this new safety issue? We threw literally billions of dollars at tech-driven solutions to make cars safer. When it comes to car safety in particular, it is pretty easy to argue that cars today are safer, right? I mean, we didn't even have seatbelts back in the day, and now we have cars that will tell us when a pedestrian is walking across the road or when we're drifting out of our lane. Well, except in that one instance when the car just blew through a crosswalk while pedestrians were crossing, that was crazy. But here's the thing, a lot of the changes that are being implemented based around safety are in an attempt to remove the human variable from the driving experience. Because if you ask the tech bros, the safest cars are the ones that are not operated by people. But this didn't really work out the way that they wanted to. The first issue with the tech solution is that it has problems. Oh my God, are there problems? New vehicle quality in general is on the decline, and it's not like you can just turn the thing off or back on again when you're flying down the highway. You might also notice that the company that's making the biggest claims about the value of tech in cars is the one that has the most problems. This is a crazy stat. Cars with ADAS, which is Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, are actually more likely to get into a crash than less techy cars. The same thing happened when we put seatbelts in cars. People started taking more risks because they thought that they were being kept safer by the technology around them. Because here's the thing, if you put a bunch of technology around a person, one that's supposed to distract them and then another one that's supposed to keep them safe while they're distracted, it's gonna make them a worse driver. Then you combine this with all the conveniences and modern functionality of cars today, and it means that you have worse drivers driving a lot more than ever. It has actually gotten to the point today where some new cars have driver monitoring systems that are basically like a tiny cop in your car to make sure that you're looking at the road and holding the wheel properly. But the hilarious irony here is that the one driver-assisted system that could actually reduce death, which is intelligent speed assist, is not being used basically at all for some reason. So instead of humans driving cars, we have cars that are driving humans. And this is fundamentally the problem, because driving used to require skill. You had to understand how the car worked, how it reacted to different inputs, and how to make sure that it didn't break or wear out too fast. Driving and owning a car used to be a very involved and thorough experience, and now it's not. And that is exactly the way the automotive world wants it to be. This is why a lot of people are actually pissed about electric cars. It's not that they don't like electric motors or whatever, or that they hate the planet. It's because they represent a new world where people don't know anything about cars and where owners have really no control about how their cars operate or how to fix them. And in this sense, I actually agree with them. See, the less that we know about what's going on with our cars, the more that we're at the whims of car manufacturers. And listen, if you're into cars, you already know that it's a lot harder today to fix your own car than it used to be. I mean, other than the fact that you can Google and find basically any bit of information about any repair on YouTube.
I don't know why he's not texting you right now.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here.
But let me explain. Right to repair issues that are well documented within the tech world are becoming a bigger and bigger problem in the auto industry. In fact, new cars are harder to fix even if you take it to a professional. Not all mechanics want to invest in the computer diagnostic technology that they need to work on new car systems, but even if they have all the gadgets and gizmos to tinker on with the new bells and whistles and whatnot, the newest of car systems are only set up to share information with car dealerships, supposedly for copyright and security concerns. This has led to a whole reactionary culture of people modifying their cars without manufacturers' permissions. Famously, Tesla won't allow anyone to modify or work on their cars themselves without voiding all of the warranties. But Rich Rebuilds basically started his entire YouTube channel, taking apart Teslas and putting them back together against company policy. But for most people who maybe knew how to change their oil in a pinch, car repair is going to get a lot harder and probably a lot more expensive. Car repair is a very competitive market, so dealerships are trying to lock everyone else out of the market and force you to go to them only for repairs. Your local mechanics and aftermarket industries are at risk of extinction along with old cars, leaving you with an exclusive relationship with salespeople, which are our favorite people. If you've seen our video about car dealerships, you will know a little bit more about that world, which is also depressing. And hey, if you like depressing subjects about our consumer world, consider subscribing. And if you want to support the work that we do, go over to Patreon. It's hard to make the pitch when we're on a downer note. But don't worry, it gets worse. And now today, the whole concept of car ownership is kind of in question. Tesla vehicles, since 2016, have self-driving technology built into every single model. But the option to turn it on is an extra package that must be purchased. Since 2020, BMW has been selling cars decked out with all the latest features that you can't use unless you pay for them. Get this, the cars are fully loaded, right? They have heated seats, driver assistance, some app that will alert you if there's traffic cameras coming up ahead, but they have put all of these features behind a software block so you can't access them without a subscription. You've already bought the car, you've paid it off, you own it outright, but you're paying $18 a month for heated seats. You smell that, everybody? That's the smell of a subscription scam, and they're everywhere nowadays. Let us know if you want to hear a frickin' video about subscriptions. Oh my God. And most recently, another example is the Cybertruck, of course. Oh my. It is unsellable. Yes, there is a clause in the purchase agreement that you are not able to sell the truck within the first year of its release, which is just for these models, I guess, but it does set a bit of a scary precedent that probably won't pan out very well for consumers. And in many ways, the Cybertruck is kind of the ultimate manifestation of this feature-forward, driverless car world. The features on the truck are the only thing that people talk about. It has rear steer, an absurd design meant only to get stares on the street and clicks on the internet, and Tesla's full gamut of novelty features that people love to show to their families and friends. However, it doesn't take a tradesman to realize that the Cybertruck is objectively unnecessary for most people who buy it for truck things, because real truck people are not buying the Cybertruck. Our relationship with cars has never been so confused, and the Cybertruck is perfect proof of that. But the craziest thing about all of this is that consumers don't actually seem to care about all this extra tech. Like, they care about some things like safety features and navigational systems, which are definitely convenient. It's like car manufacturers think that they need to compete on having the latest tech. And obviously, they like that it makes the cars way more expensive, that's convenient. But most people either don't use the advanced tech features at all, don't even know that they exist, or they just don't care. But here is the silver lining before we go. As the tech industry and the auto industry become more synonymous with each other, we're seeing a counter movement of people preferring things to be a little more simple. People are keeping their cars way longer than they ever used to, and there is a rising interest in simpler models, such as key cars and trucks. But you know what's actually crazy is we already have self-driving technology that gets you to where you need to be while watching Netflix at the same time. And it's called the bus, or the subway, or the tram car, or whatever, okay? Like, we get so focused on cars being this sort of crazy innovative technology that we forget that we already have a lot of the solutions to these problems. So don't buy a Cybertruck. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.